I love this because there's just so many angles that so much stuff is coming together, and there are some episodes that are kind of light.
Yeah. Well, I think so. I think this is kind of going the same way most of the shows I like. They kind of build up episode 1.
Right.
So if you have a few episodes building up to one episode. But then the second season is going to be freaking spectacular, probably. At least that's what I'm hoping.
Well, I've noticed...
If there is a second season.
I've noticed that we're having kind of episode by episode of the show, you're having stronger characters that their story is...
It's a focus on one character.
Focus on one character, like the real estate lady, with the problem. They focused on her, then they focused on the old man. Yeah. But Sissy Spacek, when they focused on her in chapter 7, you have to see it.
Was it
amazing?
One episode that surprised me at the end. What was it? Toward the end, I can't remember which episode it was, but it had a security guard. Something had happened with a security guard. That was when the whole thing kind of picked up for me a little bit.
Oh yeah,
that's when it got more interesting.
I think it was 5
when something happened there.
Right.
But so like the first 4 episodes were kind of building up to that, especially because they kept showing him, doing his thing.
And I like that some of the tropes are a little bit turned on their.
Well, I like
on there. Well, I mean, for instance, there's a character that dies almost immediately in the first. In the first. Episode, and the way that he dies could have been so normal, and in fact it was normal, but they just used all the elements in a great new way, and it was just freaky.
It was freaky. yeah
and a lot of that is continuing on.
Well, I like how they're also I was worried about how I read somewhere that they were doing all the characters, kind of mixing them all together, and I was like, okay, it's just gonna be like, oh, here's Cujo, here's what happens with Cujo, here's what's happening.
Right? No, but it's not that.
But it's not that.
It's not that. The thing is
there's references. But that's it. Really.
And the thing is there are parts of the overall story. Yeah. If there is an overall story, that kind of excuse linearity.
Yeah, and I want to see how Bill Skarsgård evolves over time.
Right.
So I'm fascinated by his character, the kid.
Oh yeah. Well, and the thing is, I think that eliminating linearity is really such an interesting.
Well, episode 7 wasn't linear at all.
Yeah. No, I mean, episode 7 hardly made all the sense.
It's like they took the whole script and crumbled it up and just kind of
It did. It was sort of like a ball of tinfoil. It was a ball of tinfoil, and the thing is Sissy Spacek was reflected in every little crevice.
The guy that plays her boyfriend or whatever.
The sheriff?
I've seen him before. And
No, he's been around for ages.
I thought he was pretty strong in this. I mean,
really strong, right? And I love the way that, let's face it, in the beginning, you hated him, right?
Yeah. Oh,
and then after a while, you're like, oh, guy, you can't hate.
Well, because I immediately the attorney guy.
Right. You love the attorney.
I'm on his side.
Exactly. You're on his side, and all of a sudden you realize that he hasn't done anything yet that turned me against him at all. But the other guy, he's become a good friend, a good buddy, a good pal. Let me tell you, pal. He's a pal. So
right.
Yeah. So
I'm looking forward to more episodes. Actually, it's hard to say anything without ruining anything.
Oh. You know what? This is what I noticed. There was some acting of the kid that we talked about. Yeah. And it kind of turned up in 7. And it was kind of just the only thing about 7 that just clinked a little bit is that kid acting up against Sissy Spacek. Her acting is so
the kid
straight. It's so amazing, and it's so amazing at that point. When we're up in this jumble, and everything's going on, and you're going, "Wow, she's."
So this has a lot of directors.
Well, of course, it's like any episodic. You know how episodics work is when you're doing an episodic, the actors are continuous,
but the directors are different.
But the directors, in other words, everybody in the crew is continuous, and they become the thing that carries the continuity across. And the directors, usually you'll be having a director prepping a week before. They will be prepping, and then they will come in and they will shoot their episode. And while they're shooting their episode, the next director is prepping, and
this is how, like, on episodic TV, like, you have the actors step up and direct sometimes. Like,
right.
It's easier for them to do that.
Well, it's
you know what I mean?
It's necessary for episodic. It's because episodic. The kings of the story in episodic are the producers. They are the writers. They tend to be the writers, and they tend to be the keeper of the story. Now, in a movie, the director is the keeper of the story. Okay, but not in TV. And TV, it's the director comes in and he's a guest, like, everybody is related, and final arguments are usually go to the producer, not the director,
right?
Because the director is kind of he's prep. It's a week prep, week shooting.
So is Stephen King probably a producer on this? Probably, I would imagine. Because he's also credited as a writer for 10 episodes.
Yeah,
so
sure. So
there's at least 10 episodes in this show,
exactly.
obviously.
Right.
Yeah, so I wonder if he's probably a producer.
So yeah, no, that's a really strong difference between TV and a movie, And the same thing is this they say that for a director, TV is where you buy your house,
right?
It's because as if you get into,
well, don't you wonder about Hulu and how big their budgets are though? Like, is this? I mean, Netflix, Hulu, their original series, are they really putting that much money into it?
Well, I think that it used to be that an episodic. I remember episodics were about between 50 and 125,000 for the director who came in for 2 weeks. Right. Well, actually, it's not 2 weeks. It's actually a 3 week, because you're going to prep, you're going to shoot, and then you're going to do the post.
Right.
So it's like basically a 3 week period.
Huh.
So and it's completely different with a director in a film, because they're going to actually live with that film for maybe a year, year and a half. So if you look at any director's IMDb page that does TV, he's gonna have scads and scads of TV credits. If you look at a movie director, director credits, I mean, he's going to have between 20 and 30 for a lifetime.
Unless you're Roger Corman.
Well, yeah. But Roger doesn't direct those. He's the executive producer.
Not anymore.
No, not anymore. Not anymore. So, let's see. There were shots that reminded me of Repulsion. When she came into the crowd and she's running away from...
that's a movie we should review sometime.
Yeah, Repulsion. We should do
remember
Repulsion.
certain parts of it.
Oh, and I wrote this down. I wrote that the seventh one and to some of the sixth one, it reminded me of a Bob Dylan song, because things are only making sense to put together this symphony. In other words, there's these certain images that are coming to your mind, but they're not the right words. They're not purely linear words. You know what I'm saying? So I just wrote that down, that a Repulsion, for some of the spacing scenes and some of the disjointedness, and a Bob Dylan song, because there was something, even though it was very disjointed, there was something about it that created the weird poetry that was this town. So, and was their reality. Boy, I'm sorry, I got
Which Dylan song was it? Tangled Up in Blue?
Well, any Dylan song, any Dylan song it's telling you a story, but a lot of times maybe it's like even more of a Grateful Dead song, you know, the way Bob Hunter puts a song together, in which like Jerry Garcia used to say about, you know, a Grateful Dead song, you think you know what it's about, but it isn't ever actually about anything. You know, it's a bunch of words that put a certain feeling to you, and that's what this kind of reminds me of. Is as it's going along, there are things that I'm not going to be able to explain at all, but it does give me this great feeling that continues a story in my head that isn't a complete story. It's just
that's what makes good episodes, is that you're trying to figure out what's going to happen, and then it'll be cleared up later on, hopefully, or not.
Yeah. But not. But probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Well, some things
because there are some things that have already been like almost resolved that didn't make any sense at all. You know, and that's
what's great about this town. It looks like nothing really makes any sense.
Well, exactly. It's what do they call it? It's poetry. It's not poetry. It's prose. You know, it's sort of prose. It doesn't. It's giving you a feeling without completing itself. So, boy, I obviously love SpaceX's performance, because I only mentioned it in here in my notes about every, 3 minutes. Oh, and I noticed that there was a lot of step editing going on. They're stepping on the moment, like going back and covering the moment at the same and coming back into it. And that at first it was very apparent to me, but then as things continued on, it happened a lot more, and I wasn't even directly noticing it anymore because I was in the flow of the whole song that was going.
Right.
Okay. And I loved just the things that they did with sound were amazing. The sound design on this is incredible.
There you go. And it's probably the same person through the whole thing, unlike the director, right?
Yes. Yeah. No, absolutely.
So that's interesting. I never really thought about that, but that makes sense. Like, because you have to have an overall look for a series.
Right.
You can't have every episode look completely different. So you have like the crew that stays there, the people that have the vision.
Right, exactly.
And the director just kind of tells the actors what to do, basically.
Right. Basically, that's
leads
what it
the story
is.
along.
Yeah, and brings that story to life. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's
like Tales from the Dark Side.
Yeah. Tales from the Dark Side was a perfect example of a different director every week.
Right.
And prepping and rolling. And the thing is your meeting with the new director is the old director
sometimes
going out.
Wasn't it the director would direct themselves in some cases? Like if it was a big star.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
That must have been weird.
It was, you know what, you found that in a given show, that wasn't really common. There would be a couple of those, but not very many, because it is incredibly stressful. It's a hard job. I mean, and it all moves really fast. TV moves fast. Even if it's good, it moves fast.
Well, TV is different though, because you're like, it's kind of in the moment, because you're doing, well, especially if you're on TV, like Friends or Seinfeld, where you have like 2 or 3 cameras, and you take those cameras at certain points in the script, like it's basically laid out.
Well, you see, this is a different thing though.
Yeah, this is totally different.
This is different.
This is more like film.
3 camera is different. Three camera is a rehearsed thing.
What wasn't Tales from the Dark Side? Wouldn't that have been multi-camera? Or
no. That was more single camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Friends. What's the show that just got canceled? That's been the super popular show for the longest time. With Jim Parsons is in it.
Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
one of the last of the true 3 cameras, because 3 cameras are not popular anymore. It was such an 80s device, and 3 cameras go all the way back to I Love Lucy.
Yeah, I was gonna say it started back then.
Yeah, way back then.
Honeymooners even, probably, right? I know, maybe that was 2 cameras.
No, that was 3 cameras.
3.
That was the same way. And the way that 3 camera works is this: is you rehearse on you finish up the writing on Monday, you rehearse Tuesday, Wednesday you have technical run-throughs on Thursday or on Wednesday, and then on Thursday or Friday you do a complete live run-through of it, and you film it. Right. And then it goes back to editing and on. Usually can be the same director and all the rest of that. It's a little bit easier to have a life and run on 3 camera. Right. These are just really difficult. Yeah. It's just really, because it's like a mini movie. Right. It is. It's shot like a movie. It's shot like a movie. Yeah. And the thing is we're expecting incredible things from them. Equipment being better, equipment being so much easier to work with, so much lighter, it's such an easier film process, and all the rest of that has really helped a lot. That's
Netflix and Hulu better not hire me, because I'd probably do a 3 camera show.
Yeah, you and your time elements. Yeah, you. Oh, please give me a life. Well, let me tell you something. I worked for years and years and years in this business, and I swear to God, I had so few. Just 12-hour days. Right, I know what you mean. 12-hour days. I would. My first career. I had a 12-hour day. I can't believe it. My
first career was news, TV news.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was 3 cameras.
Yeah, 3 cameras.
It was the same thing every day, where you had everything blocked out a certain way. They just read different things, but it was the exact same thing over and over again.
Have you seen like a modern news setup in L.A. like how the big guys do it now? I mean, literally, there's nobody in the room.
Right. It's all the remote control cameras were coming in when I was in news.
Right. So. It's all programmed and
sometimes in smaller markets, sometimes the anchor's actually controlling the cameras.
Really?
Which kind of blows my mind. I know sometimes they're running their own Chiron. Which,
that would be hard. Yeah. We blew out this.
Not Chiron.
We blew out the 7:00 news one time in LA.
Story time. Story time. It's story time with Mick. 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 Story time with Mick.
We were at ABC. We were at Disney. We were at ABC, and they had decided that they were going to start renting out the 2 stages that are right next to their newsroom. And so they rented it out to us, and we were doing a horror film. and you know what you do? When you have a horror film, the thing that you do is you always are using smoke, so that you get that shaft of light and stuff like that. So we completely smoked the stage, and we did it just as they started to shoot the news, awesome. At 6. And unbeknownst to even them, the air conditioning system of our unit was the same as the air conditioning of the news unit, and we weren't even on the stage that was right next to you. We were a stage away from them. But the way that it was set up is that the bigger stage used its own unit, right? Yeah. And the little stage, they just kind of put an offshoot off of the newsroom. And so all of a sudden the newsroom just before the camera rolled, we smoked it up, and it went over and it literally just blanked the news. I mean, they were like, you couldn't see anything. Man, they were pissed. Oh, wow, they were pissed because they're live, of course.
Yeah.
Woo! Yeah, it was. And you know who they came and found? Me. I was like, well, we did rent the stage, and I understand that you're pissed, but we did rent the stage. There's no way that we could have known this.
Right.
Yeah. That was a magic moment, I have to say.
Well, anchors aren't exactly brave, so
what was
at least
that?
In my experience, news anchors aren't really brave.
No, it wasn't. Believe me, it wasn't them.
It wasn't them. It was
No,
the
it
producers.
wasn't. Well, they were on the. They were still being shot while I was being chewed out.
Right.
one stage away, I was being chewed to the bone. I was like, dude, I don't know how you think I could have known that.
Right. Like
I knew it completely.
You did it on purpose.
I did.
You asshole.
I did. I absolutely did. But you know, the thing is there's no way that they could prove it. Still can't to this day. So yeah, there you go.
Did they talk about it on the air later? Like, they're shooting blah, blah, blah next door.
You know what? It was one of those great what-if questions.
Because I was like, it would have been good promotion. Like, hey, they're shooting this movie over there.
Really? Yeah, well, you know.
Remember the other day when we all freaked
The
out?
smog is so bad outside that it's actually bad here on the stage. Yeah, nobody believed that in LA. So, are we going to rate this?
I think we should. So far,
all these
through episode 7.
Through episode 7.
If I was rating the first 3 or 4 or 3 episodes, I'd probably give it like a 2 out of 5 or 2.5 out of 5.
I'm going to have to give it a 3.6 because overall, I would not have gone very far if it hadn't been for the fact that you were ahead of me and telling me that, keep going. Yeah, right.
Well, after...
And that's because, you know what? I got to tell you, the 7th episode, you know, by itself is I would give a 4 just because of Sissy Spacek's role in it. Yeah.
Well, episode 1 through 4, 2.5, 2.7.
Right.
Then I get to like 5 and 6. Mm-hmm. I'm up in like...
And they were good, yeah.
I'm up in 3.5 lands. And then 7, I'll give it like a 4 probably.
Right, yeah.
So I think the whole series I probably... You're
going to be right where I am.
Why do we keep agreeing with each other? So I'm going to say 3.8. 3.8.
Okay, just because you want to be ornery, right? 3.6.
But yeah, it's one of those things that's annoying to me. We need to find somebody that disagrees with everything we say. Like, you're full of shit.
Yeah. Okay, once again, I'm going to put out my book. My book is out. Behind the Screams.
BehindTheScreamsBook.com.
And you can go to BehindTheScreamsBook.com and you can buy it. And all I'm going to say is that you should.
And you know what? He could have been greedier than he is because he could have charged a lot more for this book, I think. I'm just saying.
It's a good price. It is a visual treat as well as it's funny. Mm-hmm. It's informative, and it tells you, you know what? I would say that it would be a treat for any filmmaker as well as specifically somebody who's a fan of the nightmares or horror.
Well, even if you're not a fan, it's going to make you want to buy Nightmare on Elm Street 4.
Yeah. Do go out and see Nightmare on Elm Street 4. In fact, there are instructions at the beginning of the book, as you might have noticed. You have to go see the movie first.
Right.
So that's going to tick up a little bit on the old Nightmare on Elm Street 4 royalties to all my friends.
You might as well buy 3, too.
What?
You might as well buy 3 while you're at it. 3 and 4.
3, well,
at least buy 3 and 4.
Well, yeah, because Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Behind the Screams, that's Behind the Screams 3.
Yes.
I'm working on that now.
And to even get weirder, go back through our episodes because we talked about 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Right. Yes.
So 3 is going to be important in our future, I think.
Very important.
Yes.
There you go. Okay, I think that we can wrap this sucker up.
This is Kurt Thomas along with Mick Strawn. Thank you for listening to the Dream Warrior Review. If you have any questions or just have feedback for our show, we welcome them at dreamwarriorreview@gmail.com. Of course, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter as well. As always, please follow us and tell your friends about us too.